at a young age saw you and went, that guy has it. I'm going to give him a chance. Would it be Tom Snyder for you?
Yeah, probably Tom Snyder for me. And actually, Stan is online right now.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, let's go to Stan Kasten, president, part owner of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Stan, thank you so much for doing this. We really appreciate it on short notice.
Okay, sure, no problem.
Stan, I was thinking, I was just telling the story that when you were 27, Ted Turner named you the GM of the Atlanta Hawks, and you've had such an extraordinary career. For people that don't know, Stan ran the Hawks, then he ran the Atlanta Braves, then he ran the Washington Nationals. When he came to the Dodgers, we started going to the playoffs and winning World Series every year. So Stan's one of the great sports executives of all time. But, Stan, is it fair for me to say that none of this happens for you without Ted Turner?
Yeah, no, that's completely fair to say. I was planning to be an antitrust lawyer at a New York law firm, which is what my parents also planned for me. and then this happened, and so I took my shot. I wasn't sure I was going to do it. I really had to debate whether I should go down to Atlanta. But I said I'll take a shot. Worst case, I can come back and be a lawyer. And so far, I haven't had to do that.
Yeah, very nice. Very nice. So Ted Turner, he always felt bigger than life to me. Was he as unpredictable and fearless behind the scenes as he was in public?
Yeah, and I've been using that phrase, larger than life, doesn't come close to capturing his personality. All the things he's done, you know what he did, owning sports teams as a personal competitor. He won the America's Cup. He was a 3-time Yachtsman of the Year, which is like the MVP award. And we haven't even started talking about his business and the work on the environment, and, you know, the work on global news and his peace initiatives, and on and on and on. So I don't know anyone who squeezed more accomplishments into 87 years. I really don't.
Stan Kasten, president, part owner of the Dodgers, joins us. Ted Turner hired Stan when he was a 27-year-old to run the Atlanta Hawks.
I was 24 when he hired me.
No kid. Wow, even more impressive. What do you think he saw in you? Why did you connect with him?
I have no idea. I told him, I'm a Columbia law graduate, Ivy League law graduate. I'm about to start work, and if you got a spot for me, I'll work cheap. Now, he remembered that conversation as I'll work for free. It was not. We had a little debate about that. It was cheap, not free, and he did wind up paying me, but it was about half of what I would have made back home or what my classmates were making. But that was okay. It was taking my shot. So other than me working cheap, I don't know what he saw. I really don't.
So, Stan, what's the single craziest thing you ever saw Ted Turner do, crazy Ted Turner story that you can actually tell on the air?
Okay. Well, that rules out most of them then. I think it's the night that I got to my apartment, turned on the TV, and saw a different number on a uniform in our dugout that I knew we didn't have on our team. And yes, Ted had taken over the team as manager. Yep, that really happened. And
wow.
And you could look it up. We lost that night. The next day, I'm in Bowie Kuhn's office trying to explain it, and Bowie said, no, this is not going to happen. But in the record books today, you can check it. The all-time manager register, it says Turner, T, O, and 1.
Wow.
That was his record. So that's right up there. If I think about it, I'll come up with 100 other things because they were all goofy. And everyone he knew, all his advisors, told him not to do CNN. In its day, that was viewed as wacky as hell. And here we are.
Yep, here we are.
Stan Kasten, nice enough to join us as we celebrate the life of Ted Turner, who passed away yesterday. Stan, I talked about your career and the success you had. What have you taken from Ted more than anything else? Do you hear him as a voice in your head when you look back on your career? Are there things that you got straight from him?
I think it was a great time to be at that company. We were on the ground floor of the birth of the superstation. We turned the superstation on 6 weeks after I started working there, and that, of course, initiated a whole new era in delivery of our games. And that's the environment we had there. We were encouraged to take big swings. We were encouraged to be innovative and just try different things. I've been around enough to see big swings. I'm here in Minnesota because we started a women's hockey league 3 years ago. That sounded dumb as hell, but here we are selling out big buildings in big cities. So a lot of that, most of that was Mark Walter and Billie Jean, but some of that is Ted and me also, because Mark said to me, Stan, if you tell me it can't be done, I'll know that it can't. But I don't say it can't be done very often. So here we are.
Stan, if Pete Ted Turner was an owner today, how would he be received? How would the public view him?
Oh, I think they'd view him as authentic and very much interested in relaying to everyone how they were. He felt a lot more comfortable with regular folks than he did with big shots or billionaires, even though later he became one. He's incredibly philanthropic, incredibly passionate about the environment. And I think all of those things would make them really proud of who he was, and you'd be proud to know him. I certainly always was.
Stan Kasten, nice enough to join us. I love that quote that gets attributed to Ted. I don't know if he came up with it or took it from somebody, Stan, but I have this written down as one of my mantras. Early to bed, early to rise, work like hell, and advertise. Did he ever say that to you?
Yeah, many times. Yeah, that was one of our early commercials, I think, back in the 70s, which is when I started working for him in 1976, which is a long time ago.
Yeah. Wow.
So, we heard all of those things back then. But, it was a smaller world that we lived in. We could do outrageous. You should have seen his commercials that he did himself back in the day. When advertisers wouldn't come on, WTCG later became WTBS because it was a UHF station. Even though we had viewers, people didn't want to do UHF, so Ted did his own commercials. And we had wrestling right from our studio with 3 benches behind the screen of fans, and we called it a wrestling arena. That is how he was. He was very much a man of the people. Now, over time, he got to be very comfortable with kings and presidents and dictators. He was friends with Gorbachev. He was friends with Castro, so he could relate to them as well, but he never lost the common touch. He really didn't.
Tell me a lesson or a couple of lessons you learned from Ted that still you use today, you still apply today.
Well, I just think take the big swings, be aggressive. Don't worry about failing. If there's a problem, figure out the problem. I just think that's what he was. That's what he always had all of us do. And as I said, it was a great time to be with the company because that was the environment. We started many, many networks. We had many different kinds of business initiatives. A lot of them didn't work, but that's okay. The ones that did work were spectacular. And I think that is kind of the mindset that I have. I don't know if I had it then or just, I developed it working with them. But that was certainly the environment that we were all working in.
Stan Kasten is our guest. And Stan, as you may know, I announce the Laker games now. And so I've spent the majority of my life in the NBA. And I remember somebody told me a story once, and I'm assuming you were running the Hawks when this happened, that with 2 or 3 minutes left in a Hawks game that was close, Ted just took over the PA announcer, told the guy, get out of the seat, I'm taking it over. And I'm guessing, I don't know because I've never asked you about it, but I'm guessing that you may have got one of those lectures that I used to get from David Stern where you just sat there and took it and didn't get to say anything. What do you remember about that? Were you running the Hawks when that happened?
Because my first day of working for Ted, I attended a meeting with lawyers arranging the purchase of the Hawks. So I was with him the whole time. I have to tell you, I've never heard that story.
Okay.
Now, so as not to completely disappoint you, on the other hand, I've had many, many lectures from David Stern. many. Okay. Because,
me too.
But
Me too,
I
Stan.
don't
We're in the
remember
same
that
group.
story. I really don't. I don't remember that story. That sounds apocryphal to me.
Okay.
Do you think people today understand the place in history that Ted Turner sort of occupies?
Probably not, but let me describe to you exactly who this guy was in the late 20th century. When you talk about Renaissance men, in the late 20th century, as pop culture was changing, as the media communications business was changing, I remember one day. Here's what happened on this one day. Ted had said something typically colorful, controversial, which got him the lead in the paper on the front page. It was also the same day that TBS either declared a dividend or a stock split that he had to make the announcement of. Also on that same day, TBS was starting a new television program that was a little bit unique. And on that same day, the Braves were awful, and Ted had to apologize for that. Think about that. He had made all 4 sections of the paper on his own accomplishments, okay? Who can do that, right? No one's even involved in those 4 areas. But that was Ted, making news every place you could look on the same day.
Before we let you go, Stan, for people that don't know, Stan now runs the Dodgers, and he's close friends with Mark Walter, and they kind of run the whole thing together. Stan, your thoughts on just the Dodgers to me seem poised to do something that we haven't seen in 30 years, which is win back-to-back-to-back World Series. But it's hard. You know it better than most people. Really hard to do that. Where's your confidence level a month into the season?
As high as it's ever been, which is, not high, because at this point in the season, no team has more than a 10 or 20% odds of winning. So that's about where I am mentally. Probably a better chance than most other teams, but that doesn't mean anything. What people don't appreciate enough, it's fine to be a good regular season team. You need to do that to get to October. That's really important. But those people who worry about competitive balance and us ruining the sport, you may have read about that. We have the paywall. We have the paywall of our postseason in baseball, the firewall. You've got to get through that, and that's completely different. So no matter how well you do in the regular season, you still got 3 or 4 series, short series to get through. So betting on any team this early is a foolish bet. I wouldn't do it, but do I feel good about our chances? I do, but even our chances remain slim compared, to the whole picture.
Let me ask you one last thing, Dodger question. I'm just going to kind of give you something general. What does Shohei Ohtani mean to the Dodger franchise?
Well, I think he gives us an identity on the field that we didn't have before. When you attack us, you start and end with, what do we do about Shohei? I know the first month he started slow, but that hasn't changed him. And now he's also a pitcher. So on the field, he gives us a little bit of a different identity. Business-wise, it's extraordinary. I've never seen anything like it, and I've watched a lot of sports over a very long time. The impact he has had on our business and on all of baseball's business, opening us up internationally in a way we never were before. It's been remarkable. I've said this before. We would always ask our marketing people, what would be the impact if we signed this guy? What would he do for ticket sales? What would he do for merchandise sales? What would he do for broadcast sales? And they always overestimate. They always, he'd be worth another $5 or $10 million. It's always BS. That's never true. And in this case, they were so under the number that he produced. Yeah. No one could have predicted the impact that he's had. And all I can say is he's lived up to everything we thought he was, and more so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and our mutual friend Lon Rosenstand tells me that off the field, he's even a better guy on the field. That's what real fans don't know, that having this guy in your clubhouse and around the staff and the people is actually undersold, that he's that guy too, right?
And we didn't know that until after, the 24 hours in Seoul 2 years ago, and we broke down the wall with his translator. Once we were able to communicate with him directly, we saw who he really was, and he's exactly as Lon has described. He's a great guy in the locker room, a great guy with teammates, joking around, laughing around, great sense of humor, and just a super guy. We could not. This is a deal that really worked out. They don't all work out. This one has worked out.
Listen, Stan, it is so great to get you on. Great to talk to you. Great to memorialize Ted Turner and all that he accomplished in the world and to get your perspective on it. Continued success during this season. And, again, thanks a lot for coming on.
All right, my pleasure, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Stan.
There's Stan Kasten, president and part owner of the Los Angeles
By the way, we were
Dodgers.
lucky. He is in